Jake stepped out, his breath shaky as he took in the first taste of freedom. Titan was waiting for him outside the prison gates, released from his restraints, standing tall. The moment Jake stepped forward, Titan let out a deep, relieved rumble and placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. Jake smiled for the first time in years. "We're going home, buddy." Reynolds watched as they walked away, shaking his head in disbelief. "A gorilla solved this damn case?" Jake smirked. "Not just any gorilla. My gorilla." And with that, the man who had lost everything walked into the night, his best friend by his side, finally free. Reynolds shifted uncomfortably. "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe they figured a caged man saying goodbye to a caged animal wasn't a big deal. Just, don't mess this up." Jake nodded, his heart pounding. "When?" "Tomorrow." Jake exhaled slowly. Tomorrow. One more night of waiting. One more night of wondering if this was all a mistake. But deep down, he knew. Titan had always been more than just a partner, and something told him this meeting would be more than just a farewell. The next morning, the heavy clang of the prison gates sent a shiver down Jake's spine. The distant shuffle of boots echoed through the hall, followed by a sound he hadn't heard in years, a deep, familiar grunt. His breath hitched as he stepped forward, gripping the bars tightly. Then, there he was. Titan. The massive silverback gorilla was led into the visiting area under heavy supervision. Chains wrapped around his thick wrists. Though Jake knew they weren't necessary, Titan wouldn't attack unless provoked. His dark eyes scanned the room before landing on Jake. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, Titan let out a deep, low rumble, a sound Jake knew all too well. Recognition. Emotion. Titan remembered him. Jake's throat tightened. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, his hands shaking. "It's been a while." Titan's nostrils flared as he sniffed the air, his gaze intense. He let out a sharp grunt and suddenly pulled against his restraints, not in anger, but in urgency. The guards tensed, gripping their batons, but Jake stepped forward. "Let him be," he said firmly. "He's trying to tell us something." Titan turned his head, his attention shifting to a far corner of the room. He let out a series of grunts, his body stiff with tension. Jake frowned. He knew Titan's body language better than anyone. This wasn't fear. It was warning. The guards exchanged glances, confused. "What the hell is wrong with him?" one of them muttered. Jake's pulse quickened. Titan had reacted like this before, back when they worked cases together, back when he had sensed danger that no one else could see. Then, without warning, Titan pounded his fists on the ground and lunged toward an old supply locker in the corner. The guards shouted, pulling at his chains, but Titan wasn't attacking. He was digging, clawing at the rusted metal, letting out deep, guttural sounds. Jake's blood ran cold. "There's something in there," he said, his voice firm. Reynolds hesitated, then pulled out a key. "Move back," he ordered. He unlocked the locker and slowly pulled the door open. Inside, beneath a pile of old case files, was a small black flash drive. Silence fell over the room as Reynolds picked up the flash drive, turning it over in his palm. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. Jake knew. He didn't know how, but he knew. "Plug it in." A laptop was quickly set up, and within seconds, the screen flickered to life. A single video file appeared, no label, just a timestamp from the night of the crime. Reynolds clicked it. The grainy footage played, showing the stolen drugs being loaded into a van. Then, the murder, an officer gunned down in cold blood. And standing there, orchestrating it all, was the last person Jake ever expected to see. Detective Harris. Reynolds paled. "Oh, my God." Jake's fingers tightened around the table. His voice came out low and steady. Titan knew the truth. The warden was called. The district attorney was notified. Within hours, Jake's case was reopened. The evidence was undeniable. He had been framed. By nightfall, the cell door that had caged him for 2 years swung open. Jake stepped out, his breath shaky as he took in the first taste of freedom. Titan was waiting for him outside the prison gates, released from his restraints, standing tall. The moment Jake stepped forward, Titan let out a deep, relieved rumble and placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. Jake smiled for the first time in years. "We're going home, buddy." Reynolds watched as they walked away, shaking his head in disbelief. "A gorilla solved this damn case?" Jake smirked. "Not just any gorilla. My gorilla." And with that, the man who had lost everything walked into the night, his best friend by his side, finally free.